Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Funcraft Let's Play. I'm Shoveler12, this is episode 2, and today I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I have really one main project planned for today. We might get around to a second one, kind of depends on how much time we've got. But today we're going to be working on a tree farm. And this is a tree farm. It's going to be using a lot of modded mechanics. So we've got this builder from RF Tools. This is just a power cell. Got a couple different things going on here. And I will sort of explain things as we go, but it's not exactly going to be a tutorial. We're just going to kind of be working through it. I will give you guys a materials list you can just take a screenshot of once we get going here, so that if you do want to build it or follow along, you can do that. So real quick here, let me show you what we actually need to build this. So it looks like a lot. It's not actually terrible. The real core of it is right here. So you see a lot of 12s here. That is one per tree that we want to grow. So this is going to be kind of a 3x4 farm. So we're growing 12 trees. I do have some excess here. It's always a good idea to have some things on hand. You do need some extra comparators and repeaters for some of the redstone logic. Some item ducts just to transport items. You also need, I went a little overboard on the auto placers, but you're going to need 2 auto placers per tree. So we have 24 in this case. And I think with that, we can go ahead and get started. You can see I'm falling into all these holes. I kind of got started the other day. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab these auto placers and we're just going to kind of map out the area that we are going to be working on. And you can see I've done a little bit of prep work. I cleared out this area, but generally what you're going to do is these cobblestone blocks are just kind of mapping where I want the trees for now. And I am planning, so we're going to be growing oak trees, and I'll explain why in just a second here. But I'm planning for the large oak trees to be growing. I know they won't always grow, but I want to have enough room. So these guys have 6 blocks on either side of them, so 12 blocks from here over to here, and then same on that side. And that's kind of the spacing that we're doing. So we should be able to squeeze in a 4x3 grid here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to be right on that copper ore. Now, obviously, we're going to swap these guys out for dirt, but 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. So we got there and there. So yeah, this is going to give us plenty of space kind of to get everything grown. And then if we don't end up getting the, those larger trees, that's quite all right. It's not going to hinder us at all. We're not going to be losing efficiency in any way. But we will, just making sure I'm lined up here. I think that's good. We're not going to be losing a ton of efficiency, but we are kind of banking on getting those larger growths. All right. Perfect. So that's taken care of. So we've got our grid right there. And somehow, oh, right. No, we're not quite done. My apologies. So got that and that. Beautiful. And last but not least, that and that. Perfect. All right, so this is kind of the layout. We're going to be growing trees in each of these areas. And what you can see here, I'll use this builder. And I think I've shown you guys this before, but just in case I haven't, we've got this builder block. Basically, this allows us to clear out large areas using this thing called a shape card. The shape card defines the area that this is going to operate in. If we click this little button, that will give us these kind of ghost blocks that'll show the operating area. So we can see that it nicely fits around all of our trees. And the other thing to know about this is that once it starts mining things, it's going to spit all of the materials into kind of an invisible buffer. So we are going to need storage on top and bottom of this. Well, top or bottom. You can do both. You don't have to. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a, let's just use a regular chest. We're not going to need a ton of storage for this. So let's do a regular chest here. And that's just so it has a buffer to pull things into. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to set up our system for counting out saplings. And let me explain why we need that. So we have 12 blocks here, 12 kind of areas where we're going to be planting trees. So that means that every time we harvest, we need to have a minimum of 12 saplings left over. And what we're going to be doing with the other saplings is making this stuff called plant matter. And what plant matter does is it's basically bone meal, but it works instantly. So it's a guaranteed growth every time. And you get 3 of those for 5 saplings. So we're going to take 12 saplings, scrape that off the top, and then take all the rest and convert that into plant matter. And the saplings are going into one of these things, and the plant matter going into the other, so it'll continue to basically provide its own fertilizer. but we need a system that will allow us to actually sort out all of the plant matter, or the 12 saplings from the top. So let me just clear out a little more of an area here. I love this excavator tool. It lets you clear a 3x3 area of anything that a shovel would normally mine. So sand, dirt, clay, stuff like that. It is insanely useful. I would recommend having a real shovel on hand from time to time because it can be useful. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. So what we're going to need now is we're going to go over here. We're going to grab these hoppers. We're going to grab these droppers, get rid of some of these blocks. We're going to need our sticky pistons, the redstone, repeaters, and comparators. So what you're going to want to start with is you're actually going to want to start with these droppers. So these droppers are going to go along here. So you're just going to do a line of 12 droppers, or again, if you're doing more or fewer than this, it's just going to be one dropper per tree that you're doing. Now on top of these droppers, you're going to put hoppers facing straight down. There we go. It would help if I stopped falling in. And then the other thing we're going to do is I'm going to need just a temporary block here. Kind of plop that on the side because we need another row of hoppers, but they need to be facing into this block. So we're going to do this. A few more. Beautiful. Okay. And then because I'm a bit of a dingus, we're going to need to mine this area out as well. Where's my excavator? I always lose track of my tools in my inventory. It's ridiculous. Do that, and then we're just going to do this. And standard disclaimers, guys, I think I've explained this before. We're not focusing on appearance right now. We're not really worrying about decoration. This is all just for function at the moment. So now that we've got this little area to kind of work in, we're going to take our 12 comparators and our 12 repeaters, and we're going to do a well, if we can place them, we're going to do a line of comparators along here facing out of these droppers, so they're reading the contents of that, and immediately running into that doesn't need to be on 2 ticks, it can just be on 1 tick, into a line of repeaters. Then we're going to take a line of any block that can be powered. I'm using wood here. It could be stone. It could be dirt, whatever you like. And then we're going to go, we already have them. We've already got our sticky pistons. We're going to do a line of sticky pistons and then a block of redstone on the face of that. And essentially all this system is going to do is when we throw an item into here, the item's going to want to travel down towards that block of wood down there, but they're going to get sucked down into this hopper. But as soon as they do, they're going to go into this dropper, and then this piston is going to extend, blocking this channel from getting any more items. So we're basically going to get 12 saplings split across these 12 hoppers, and then all the remainder are going to go into, you could have a chest here, you could have a thing of lava to destroy them. But in our case, we're going to be making this plant matter with them, but you could do whatever you like. So now the only thing to know about this is that if you let the items run sort of as fast as the hoppers will transmit them, it's a little too quick for this system. So we do need to slow that down just a smidge. So we're going to build just kind of a little cage here because we're going to be using a dropper to get these guys out. So do that and grab one of our spare droppers here. Oops. There we go. And we're also going to need these 2 repeaters and then just a little bit of redstone dust. So we take this dropper, we're going to face it facing this way. And then coming out of here, you can just do a little platform. Again, this can be really crude. It doesn't really matter how you want to do this. But what does matter here is, let's actually do it up 1 block from that so that this block will get powered. So we're going to do that, and then, so we're going to need kind of a little row of redstone, and then a block, and that block needs to have a redstone torch on its face, facing kind of off to the side here. And then you're going to take a redstone repeater on 4 ticks and another redstone repeater on 4 ticks. So this is going to create just kind of a slow clock that'll continuously power itself basically, and then if you want to be able to shut this off, you can just throw a lever on top of there and that will keep that ticking from happening. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and grab just a couple of these item ducts, 1 servo, get rid of some of these items, and we're going to grab a sapling just temporarily because we need to set the filter on this guy. So we're going to place these item ducts facing into the back of this guy with a servo here. As typical, we're going to set this to ignored, and then we're going to whitelist saplings because we are going to be getting wood, obviously, and then also apples from this guy. We don't want that to go into this system. So right now, that's going to pull out the 12 saplings off the top, And then I'll show you what we're going to do with that in a second. But for now, let's handle the crafting bit. So we don't need that sapling anymore. Just get rid of some of these junk blocks. So we're going to need our crafter. Might need a few more of that, some of that. And that's probably good for the moment. I'm sure I forgot something. But anyway, so let's just get rid of these blocks because we don't really need them. And just so that we have something to hold the leftover saplings, I'm going to grab one more one more dropper here. And so that dropper is just so that we can have kind of something with an inventory to dump these guys into. So from there, we're going to take the impulse item duct and bring that out, and that can just stay there. We're going to have this simple crafter right there, and you can see I've already configured this for the correct recipe. And I actually forgot, I made a mistake here. We do want this guy placed right next to this power cell just so that he'll always have power. That way we don't need to fool around with having like laser relays or something to get the power out. That's just a preference thing. You don't have to do it that way, but that's how we're going to be doing it today. I'm just going to place in this final item duct thing, and then I will go to sleep so I don't get attacked here. Beautiful. Okay. Real quick, we'll sleep through the night, and then we will resume working on this. Alrighty, so now what we need to do is throw another servo on there. We don't need a filter here because we're already guaranteed that this is only going to be saplings coming out of here. And then what we're going to do from this guy is we're going to just place an item duct, and because we can configure the IO of this, we don't need a servo here, so we're going to do push on that, so it'll push it out. And what we're going to do is this is going to get wired into one of the sort of channels, if you will. So like this row, and then this row will be getting all of these saplings. So we're going to just kind of, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to kind of get this lined up. So that's where that's going. And then the last thing to do is work on how we're actually getting the saplings out of this. So I'm going to need a few more item ducts now that I think about it. So if I can actually get out of here, let's grab just the rest of them. So we're going to place a row of item ducts along here, and we are going to need servos on all of these. But what we're going to do is we're actually not going to set these to the ignored. We're going to leave them on redstone signal of high, because what we don't want is if this guy has a sapling in it, we don't want that sapling to get sucked out until all 12 of them are in place. So we're going to need a few more scaffolding blocks or just some sort of temporary block. Which cobblestone will work just fine for that. So that's going to go here, and then we need a line of redstone on top of that. So if I can get out of this thing, there we are. Yeah, also be careful when you're building this to not trap yourself. That does get a smidge annoying. All right, so then we're going to have this, and that's going to power those servos that are next to them. And from there, we can actually take this where we're trying to go. So get that guy under there. It'll come on out. And then what we're going to do is this is where things get not weird, but we do need to be kind of careful how we sequence things. Otherwise, it's not going to quite work right. So we're going to pull this out of here and just grab it up onto the ground where we can kind of start messing with it. And what we're going to do is we're going to dump that into a chest. And the reason that's important is we need to make sure that we have a place where we can kind of collect all of the saplings at once. So we're going to, again, just kind of give ourselves a little bit of a leading edge here. And we're going to take a servo, and it looks like I might have forgotten the specific type, but what we need is we need a signalum servo. So in a second, I'll cut away and I'll go grab that. But anyway, for now, another thing that we need to do, now that we've kind of got these two channels prepped, is we need to actually take a comparator output from this hopper, and I will show you why that's important. So what we need to do is we basically need a way of determining when all 12 saplings, well, in fact, when all of the saplings, not necessarily all 12, because remember, we don't know how many we're getting per harvest. So we need to make sure that we know when all of the saplings are done. And we can tell that by knowing when this guy is empty. So we're going to take a comparator output from that guy. And so that's going to go into here. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run that into a repeater, which I actually have some spares in here because I did think I might end up needing a few more. So we're going to run that into a repeater just to refresh the signal. And then we're going to run that into a pulse extender. So that's going to be this, and we're just going to give ourselves kind of some building blocks here. And you want this pulse extender to be decently long. I have found that 8 comparators works pretty well. So you're going to go, 4 one way, 4 the other way, and then connect this up with redstone dust. And then what we're going to do with this is we are going to run this output into we're going to run that up. Actually, no, we'll just run it right on that block there. So we're going to do that there, and then we need a redstone torch right here, and then we need another one of those hoppers. I keep saying hoppers. They're droppers. I don't know where I keep getting hoppers from. So we're going to grab a dropper, and we actually are going to need a hopper as well. We'll get rid of our dirt there. So we're going to do a dropper, and you want this dropper, it might be a tad difficult to place. There we go. So you want that facing up. You're going to do a hopper on top of that with just any old item in it. We're going to do cobblestone. And essentially what this is a falling edge monostable. And then we want a redstone comparator output on top of that. And what we're going to do from there is refresh the signal yet again. And then we're actually going to build a second pulse extender. And the reason for this second pulse extender is, let me actually kind of explain what's happening here. So when this guy has items in it, we want it to, this will kind of fill up this signal. So all of these will be filled up with signal level 15, and it's going to stay that way. Then as soon as this goes away, we need to give the last item that was put into this hopper time to get all the way down to the end here. So that's what this first pulse extender is for. The second one is just to make sure that it's not until this has expired that we trigger the next set of the circuit. And what we want to happen is we want this line of redstone to get powered, but because these servos under here can be kind of slow, we want it to stay powered for a little longer than just one pulse, hence the second pulse extender. We're going to go grab a couple more comparators, and here it doesn't need to be that long. I'd probably recommend a 3 long pulse extender, if that makes any sense. So go there, and redstone to that, and coming out of this, we're going to want another repeater just to make sure we have enough signal strength to actually get down to here. But we can just take the redstone line down like that, and that ought to do the trick. So that's perfect. So that will make sure that this stays on long enough, and then we'll get all of the items coming out of here. Now, real quick, I'm just going to pop over to the base and grab one signalum ingot, because I did forget the signalum servo, and what that's going to be for is the signalum servos allow you to define the round robin, which is something that we used before, and that's just going to make sure that every placer is getting an equal amount of things. We're not getting a bunch of saplings or a bunch of stuff going into one thing, and I might be out of signalum. No. Perfect. Get my pick back, jeez. Boy howdy, my inventory is quite full. Alright, get rid of those. Got 2 signal ingots, that's exactly how much we need, so that's perfect. Alrighty. So sorry for that brief delay there. Alright, so we are back with the signalum, so we can make these signalum servos. There we go. And so what we're going to do is on the output of this, I made a mistake. I'm going to take this off of push, so that's just set to none, so that we are actually pulling this out, which means that we are going to be taking advantage of the signalum. Now, what is kind of frustrating here is you have to click on every single one of these. You have to click it once per thing. There's no way to hold it. So you can set it. We want a stack size of 1, round robin, so that's going to send 1 to everything. And we're going to do exactly the same on the other side, or on the sapling one, if you will. I apologize for all the incessant clicking. All right, So that is all of the setup work, and that is all of basically the wiring in terms of the redstone. So real quick, I'm going to cut away, and when I come back, I will have everything wired up, and we will kick this farm off and give it a test run. Alrighty, welcome back everybody. So I've done a little more crafting and placing offline, just filled in the rest of this grid with some impulse item ducts. I did want to highlight a couple of changes I made over here real quick, just in case you are following along. You'll notice I swapped these guys out for an array of chests. We're just alternating between trap chests and regular chests. And that was because of something I failed to consider. When we had the dispensers down here, this redstone was actually powering those dispensers, or the droppers. And so we were, instead of pulling the saplings out the bottom, we were actually just spitting them onto the ground. So they were despawning. So that we don't want. So these chests will serve the same purpose that we were trying to get from the droppers, but obviously we won't run into that issue. The other thing is this guy needs to be on 4 ticks, and we need to drop this down to just 4 comparators instead of 6. That otherwise we won't have enough delay to actually start this clock or this pulse lengthener up correctly. And the last thing I did was moved this pulse lengthener out from on top of these pistons because I was keeping them extended when we didn't want. Oh, and there is one more thing that I did. I did change this into a clearing fortune quarry. What that does is that makes sure that we're not going, or that we're getting the most amount of saplings, because it actually applies fortune to all of the leaves that we do, or that we're mining. And then this filter I also added. It's filtering for oak logs and for leaf blocks. So with those few changes made, I think we're ready to kick off this farm and get this video wrapped up. So real quick, let me stop this guy. So we'll stop him. And then I will, so this is our plant matter chest. I've already filled this up with some plant matter, so I'm not going to worry about that. So we'll get those saplings put in, and we will see in just a second here. I think we'll start with that one, but you'll start to see, yep. So we're seeing saplings, and then as soon as they're placed, we're growing it. And then we can just kick this guy off. I'll let all 12 be grown first, although that doesn't matter. See, there's one of those big trees, so we'll get a lot more saplings out of that, a lot more apples, and a lot more wood. So that's why everything's spaced out. Is just in case we happen to get one of those. We're going to get mostly these. But that shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, I was doing some test runs here, so you can see there's a little bit of leftover stuff. And from here, you would take this off into a storage system. I might do that. I'll probably do that in between episodes. But yeah. So it looks like we're waiting on one over on the end, but that's okay. So we're going to set this to keep running and kick this bad boy off. And you'll see these trees are starting to immediately get destroyed. And you'll see that some of them have extra saplings in there, which means you're going to use up all the saplings that you have in the system at once, which is going to give you an insane amount of wood. Like, look how fast that's filling up already. So this is an incredibly efficient farm. It runs really well. We've got more than enough saplings to make more of this stuff. I will need to kick off this clock, but look how full that thing is. So what you're going to get is an insane amount of wood because all of the saplings are going to get planted at once. So this guy has 3 more saplings. We're going to get all of the saplings planted. All those harvests are going to come back in here. We're going to have to process all of those saplings in here. So there's going to be massive delays between harvests, but it'll result in, I mean, it's not going to slow it down over time. So anyway, that is the fully automatic tree farm. I'm going to work on running this into some of my other farms, generating some paper for the elytra. But I appreciate you guys for watching. If you like this episode, please leave a like. If you'd like to see more, please drop a subscribe or a comment on how I can improve my videos. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.